it looks like we have some people joining us this morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to all of you who are joining us for our second in our series of Breakfast with Realtor Champions. My name is Jordan Forrest, and I am the Government Affairs Director for the Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors, and I'm joined by our Vice President of Policy and Engagement, Casey Angel.
Morning.
Casey and I are so excited that we are joined this morning by Commissioner Matt Calabria. He is a Realtor Champion, and we are so happy not only that he serves as an advocate on the Wake County Commissioners, but that he's joining us this morning for this series. Before we get started with everything, for those of you who are joining us live, Casey is going to be monitoring that Q&A feature. Feel free to drop any questions you have in there. He'll work those in during our questions, and then at the end, we'll just turn it over to y'all. So any questions that you have, Commissioner Calabria is going to be happy to answer them. So feel free to be active in there. All right, Commissioner, if you're ready, we can go ahead and get started. All right, so for our viewers today, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and how you came to serve on the Wake County Commission?
Yeah, sure. So again, I'm Matt Calabria. I currently live in Fuquay, Varina with my wife, Molly, and we've got a 2-year-old, Jordan and others and I were just talking about our 2-year-old daughter, Eleanor. I am a Raleigh attorney. I practice business litigation primarily and have done so for a little bit more than a decade now. I grew up in Cornelius, North Carolina, down in Mecklenburg County, went to public schools from kindergarten all the way through college. Went to UNC Chapel Hill as an undergraduate, was lucky enough to serve as student body president there for a year, finishing up on our national championship year, which of course I had nothing to do with, but it was great. And then went over to Duke Law School, and I always tell people I still cheer for the right team, but went to Duke Law and then have been practicing law in Raleigh ever since. And I was elected in 2014, and I guess I'm completing my second term. And I'm running unopposed this year, but I'm running for my third term on the County Commission beginning at the end of 2020.
Well, I am very jealous. I'm also a UNC graduate. We had a championship drought while I was there. They won, I believe, the year after or 2 years after I graduated, but I did rush Franklin anyways, even though I was old news at that point. But that's pretty cool to be student body president when they won a national championship. That's awesome.
It was great. It was a good senior year.
This has definitely been an unprecedented year, and the Wake County Commission stood strong with our real estate industry to deem real estate essential during stay-at-home orders. Why did the commission feel it was important to do that?
Yeah, so there were a few reasons, and I really appreciate the question. Let me parenthetically say that we have really benefited a great deal from a very, very strong, very positive relationship with the realtors over time, and I think that that helped in this case. If we look at what we've seen since our first stay-at-home orders, I really feel vindicated about our decision to deem y'all's industry as essential. Growth is a defining characteristic in Wake County, and it continues to be, even though we're in a very, very strange time right now. The realtors industry is really a linchpin industry. It's what makes growth possible in a lot of ways, and it's what makes a lot of other industries possible. So it is a very, very core key industry for us. And so I thought that was one of the reasons why we really needed to spend some time to make sure we protected it properly. I will tell you that Chair Greg Ford and I were the principal drafters of our stay-at-home order in large part. And I still have very, very vivid memories of staying up until 2 a.m. drafting parts of this order because we were in a rush. And it's like this strange dreamlike scenario, because you know that every phrase in that order is going to make or break an industry for a very, very long time. And so it was both time sensitive and critically important in a way that elected officials of any kind scarcely encounter. But it was good to be talking to a lot of realtors and hearing from folks who were very reassuring, who said, look, we want to be able to do in-person showings. Okay, well, these are the protections we're putting in place, because at the end of the day, there's a balance between the importance to our residents and to our economy and to our region, and the risk of spreading coronavirus that at that point we knew even less about than we do now. And so I think it was A, the central role that it plays in our economy, but B, really being able to understand how things were likely to happen if y'all stayed open and could do in-person showings and all that. And so those relationships, I think, ended up really mattering, because it helped us tailor our order in a way that I think turned out rather well.
Well, that's awesome. And I think it's also important for all of us to understand the thoughtfulness and the process that you guys were under. I mean, the time constraints and like knowing that you were up till 2 a.m. reading through all of this, that's something that I personally haven't heard, someone speak to, how they actually went through making all of those different stay-at-home orders. So we appreciate your leadership during that time, and reaching out to industry leaders to hear what they need, because it could have gone a much different way for our industry and many other industries. So we appreciate all the work and time you put into that. So switching, hopefully moving out of a pandemic into normal life again, what are some of your top priorities heading into 2021?
Yeah, and I think that you phrased it properly, and because hopefully this pandemic will not last long into the next term on the county commission. And so when I talk about my priorities, I tend to focus on the things that we've always focused on. So just a few things. First, public education continues to be critical to what we do in Wake County. It's part of our growth, and I can tell you, and the chambers will tell you, that about 85% of the businesses that we're seeking to recruit to Wake County will identify access to talent as their #1 issue. And that means a lot of things, but it probably chief among them, it means our education system, including our community college at Wake Tech and our higher education system, but of course, really pre-K through 12 education. And so it continues to be a key part of our quality of life and our economic development. In the first 2 terms that I've served as commissioner, I voted to increase county support for public education by more than 1/3, which has meant, I haven't checked the statistics lately, but at least at some points, the highest local portion of teacher pay in the state, which of course is tacked on to the state portion of teacher pay. It's meant additional psychologists, counselors, social workers in our schools, which is a much needed area. It's meant a much better school to nurse ratio. And I'm really glad that we did that, not knowing what 2020 would bring. But in retrospect, that was a really good move. We moved the school to nurse ratio from about 6:1 to about 2:1, which is, I think, going to pay some pretty significant dividends, and was just sort of a provident thing that we worked on. And also we've, for the first time ever, expanded into county support for pre-K, because we know that that is the biggest bang for the buck that we've got. The other biggest bang for the buck we've got in public education is food security, and making sure that a kid who's sitting in a classroom has a full belly, because if they don't, we know that test scores plummet, behavioral problems skyrocket. There are all sorts of things that come from that. And so I started and continue to chair the food security working group between county government, nonprofits, and the school system. We've more than doubled the number of schools that we've targeted in underprivileged areas that have universally free breakfast. And we've expanded our Backpack Buddies programs, food pantries, you name it. And that continues to be a very rewarding and very effective program. So that's 1, education. 2, and I promise the rest won't be so long, but the second one is to really look at affordable housing. A lot of y'all will know we have done a tremendous amount of work in affordable housing over the last several years. First, comprehensive affordable housing plan. We put more affordable housing units online. When I talk about that, I'm talking about sort of government supported affordable housing units. We've put more online in 2019 than we did the past several years combined. So we continue to break records, but as y'all know, we're growing quickly. And I remember very clearly a meeting that I had with Bill Fletcher and Tessa Holtz and maybe some others several years ago when we were talking about the average time on market for houses in the sort of low price band, medium price band, high price band. Y'all know this sort of stuff a lot more granularly than I do. But the low end was just super fast. I mean, things were flying off the shelves, and somebody in the room said, "Well, that's great, right? Because inventory is moving." And the realtor folks we were sitting with said, "No, not great. We don't want to be San Francisco in 10 years." And to me, that was really helpful to my thinking. And so not only have we focused on what I'll call affordable housing, which I mean sort of government supported affordable housing, preserving naturally occurring affordable housing that might otherwise be going away. But there's this other piece that I really try to emphasize, which is housing affordability. And by that, I mean making sure that we get planning and zoning right, and public transportation, which y'all have been tremendous partners on, and a lot of other things right, so that we can preserve options and opportunities, but we do manage and maintain and build vibrant centers, walkable communities, things like that really give us some options and some density where it's appropriate. And think about housing affordability as setting the market right and setting the system right, because every affordable housing expert we have ever talked to has pointed out that you can't build your way out of an affordable housing crisis on the government side. You need to support market actors, realtors, and others to get that done. And then the third thing I'll briefly mention is equitable economic development. A lot of work that I've done is about supporting our economy writ large. So not only bringing high-end jobs in, and we should definitely continue to do that, but also making sure that our working class folks have opportunities to rise up. And that means that we need adequate worker training, adequate supports, adequate connections to Wake Tech and other avenues and resources that we have out there. And so I want to continue working on that as well. So those are the things that I think we've been very effective on so far, and I think we need to continue our efforts on those fronts, among others.
That's awesome. And yes, we hope to continue to be a partner with you. It sounds like we've been a partner for quite some time, even prior to my time here and prior to our current CEO, Andrew Sims's time. So we're happy that we're able to continue that partnership with you moving forward. So as we wrap up with these pre-planned questions, do you have any thoughts, final thoughts to share with us, or ways that our members can get involved and support your campaign?
Sure. Well, I appreciate it. Obviously, folks are welcome to check me out at mattcalabria.com. I probably put out most information, or at least most frequently, on my Facebook page or on Twitter. Folks are, of course, always welcome to donate. You can do that on mattcalabria.com as well. But a lot of information now is on social media. And doesn't always necessarily go through traditional media channels. And so I'd always encourage folks to get involved that way. I'm running unopposed this year. And so, we're trying to keep the lights on and, keep the website up and running and do all those things, and also make sure that I'm connected to the community as much as I can be. So just chugging on and making sure that, that we stay prepared and stay connected and still continue to do a good job. But really appreciate things like this. Periodically, as y'all know, I've historically come and once a year, once every 6 months, just kind of done a presentation to say this is where we are, this is what we're working on, and this is what we're seeing. And the feedback has always been helpful. So I would very much welcome opportunities to do that in the future. But again, I would just emphasize just the importance of our working relationship and how much I've appreciated that and how much that's mattered. Jordan, as you alluded to, what I'm about to say too is before your time, so to speak, but when we were passing the transit referendum in 2016, it was basically Sig Hutchinson and me on a roadshow and working with Asa Fleming and some others on really an almost daily basis, it felt like, but we felt like we dedicated an entire year to passing that. and it passed by 52.6%, which is a solid margin of victory, but it really reminds you of how impactful your individual work is. And so I would just emphasize the importance of having those relationships and of being involved, and how much I appreciate really our entire community rowing in the same direction, which when you visit other communities, you quickly realize is just not the case. Having our realtors and our home builders and our county government and our social justice community and churches and everybody, I mean, everybody gets it and is really rowing in the same direction. And I think that's a testament to our communication, the collaborative nature of our community, and I would hope to continue that in the future.
Yeah, and we're lucky to have members who are great advocates for us and great partners and dedicate a lot of their time to serving our association by building these relationships. So to Bill and to Asa, you both got shout outs. You're our star students today if you're watching this. So we appreciate all the efforts that our members put in, because they're the ones with the stories. They're the ones who are down there every day doing the work. We can come up with a lot of numbers to share with you guys, but I feel like it's the stories that they have and their actual knowledge of the real estate industry that really helps illustrate what our needs are in our community. So we're lucky to have them working with us as well. I don't think we have any questions. I think you did a great job, and fingers crossed that you get reelected. I know it's a tough race for you this year.
Later, yeah.
But we really look forward to working with you in the future, and we're so proud to be a partner with you and to be able to support your campaign and work with you in the future. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate opportunities like this, and hopefully a few months from now we'll be able to see each other in person and continue on the dialogue.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us today. I hope you all have a great day.
All right. Thank you all very much. Take care.